This video is called Painting 1, Color Theory Classwork, and we will start by making tints, which I've already mixed. So I took my major warm and cool colors and I added white to create these pastel variations, which are called tints, the lightest variation of any color. Next I'm going to be making shades, the darkest variation of any color. So to do this, I've added black to each of the colors. So now you're seeing lemon yellow with black, now cadmium yellow with black. The naphthol red with black. The crimson with black. Phthalo blue with black. And ultramarine blue with black. So use whatever colors you have to add white to make your tints and to add black to make your shades. You don't have to have the exact paints that I have. And there you can see I had a glass jar of warm color and a glass jar, of water, and a glass jar of cool water. So I always try to have two different containers of water. Now I've added, speaking of water, this is another way to make tints by adding water to the paint instead of white. And if you compare the tints on the far left versus to how I'm creating tints with water, they're much more saturated. And saturated is another property of color. It's not the same thing as value, which is how light or dark a color is. Saturation is about purity. And the color maintains its purity, its saturation, its intensity, its chroma. Those are all words for saturation by using water versus using white paint. And it allows the acrylics to mimic the effects of watercolor. So you should make 3 columns, tints made with white, shades made with black, and another last column, tints made with just water, not white. Okay, now I'm doing an exercise called canceling color. And you can make shades by adding black, but there's an interesting way to create dark colors all the way to black by mixing complementaries. So here you can see I have violet and yellow. I mixed them together and I got this sort of purplish dark brown. Now I'm going to take green and add red. And I've mixed them to make another dark color, which is also rather violet, verging on black though. Okay, now I'm taking orange and blue, and I'm going to mix them, and you can see I get a rich brown. So it'll, depending on the variation of color, whether it's a cool yellow or a warm yellow or a cool green or a warm green, and the combinations you mix, you'll get different variations on a shade. But it can be interesting colors that have a lot of richness to them versus always using black right out of the tube. Okay, now what we're going to work on painting are mixing neutrals and muted tones. Okay, so I've already painted some. You can see at the top I mixed orange and blue to get a rich brown, then I added white to get a tint, and then on the side, those little swatches, I played around by adding blue, then orange, then black to see what variations I get. And then I worked with a different temperature of orange and blue on the bottom beneath that row, and you can see I got a darker brown. Now I'm working on mixing grays, and Same thing, I used the orange, the green, and I got a dark grayish color, and then I added white to make a lighter gray, black to make a darker gray. I did at the row above that mixed Mars black with just titanium white to get gray, a typical gray. But you can get what are called chromatic grays by using complements mixed together and then adding white, adding black to get different variations on gray. So here I'm playing with adding more gray to colors, black to colors, white, or orange, just to see variations on brown and gray. Browns and grays are neutrals and they're not considered part of the color wheel. Muted tones are also in that realm. By adding gray or brown to colors, you can decrease their saturation and create tones. Okay, so now you're seeing photographs of these samples. So here we have our two types of tints and our shades. And then you'll see a close-up, so you can see with the shades all those variations that I created by adding black, and then on the right the saturated approach to creating tints just using water as my solvent, or to create lighter variations. Okay, this was the canceling color, and you can see I got three different shades. The one on the left is a little warmer, the one on the right is more violet, and then the bottom shade is definitely in the brown range. Okay, and then this was what we did last, mixing neutrals and muted tones. So at the top, again, a warm orange with a cool blue creates that kind of brown. Then you can see I added white, and then on the sides I played around by adding blue, orange, and black. And then on the bottom I did another variation with a cool orange and a warm blue. See what that kind of brown made. And then further down, black and white to make gray, and then orange and green with to play around with different variations on gray. And this is a close-up showing the orange, the cool orange mixed with the warm blue gave me that brown, and then when I added white I got that chromatic gray